A body torn on the church and the blood of the poor. What is a church? What has it become? And what, in this blood-soaked world of suffering, sacrifice, and survival, might it mean again? We are taught, no, we are saturated with images of buildings and budgets and Sunday morning showmanship. The church is presented as stability, structure, stewardship, mortgages and multi-purpose rooms, nursery check-ins, and six-figure salaries. It is often cast as a spectacle, with screens large enough to simulate eternity and parking lots organized with military precision. It is what passes for the body, but it is not the body. Not as I have come to see it. Not as it suffers in the alleyways of our story. Let me say it gently but clearly. The body of Christ is not that. The church is not the crowd gathered in comfort to hear a professional deliver what they cannot risk living. The church is not a brand, not a podcast, not a clothing line. It is not a motivational tool to help the middle class weather the stress of being overextended. It is not your safety blanket. It is not the military chaplaincy of empire. It is not the affirmer of family values built atop graves. The church, if it is to be the body at all, is the flesh of those who will not turn over their neighbor to the God. The church is the skin we wrap around one another so we are not devoured in isolation. It is Esau's ragged voice as he says, "We will not participate in the sacrifice." It is the unseen hands that keep vigil. It is the cat curling against your feet when warmth is all that stands between life and death. The true church is what holds fast in the face of the horrific absurdity of a cosmos that makes no promises but death. This is where we might speak, if only in the hush of metaphor, of Craig Keene. Keene, though not named in our tale, is the whisper behind our images of the mutilated body. For Keene, the body of Christ is not merely Eucharistic, it is cruciform in the fullest sense. It is lynched, it is torn, it is discarded and disregarded, and yet it lives, even in the alley, even in the dying breath of a child who knew only exile. It is a body so porous with wounds that it can hold the world's grief. This body refuses sacrifice. This body is not in service to a God who demands blood. This body does not ask the poor to make themselves palatable, to render themselves valuable, to spiritualize their hunger. It does not ask their children to die for the sins of the rich. And it does not hide the knife behind the pulpit. This body bleeds because it loves. It bleeds because it has been made to. But it will not bleed others for its own comfort. In this story we are telling this horror story of hope. The God, unnamed, Lovecraftian, a terror in the shadows, demands sacrifice. But the body, the true church, does not concede. The people of the alley, the strange fellowship led by Esau, resist. And in that resistance is communion. Lovecraft's cosmos was one of unfeeling chaos, where humanity's fate is mere footnote to the writhing madness of the great old ones. But what if even there, even in a universe abandoned by meaning, there were a few who refused to be consumed? What if the true church were not those who know the right words, but those who keep each other alive a little longer, who hold one another against the cold, who tell stories to keep the horror at bay? This, perhaps, is the only liturgy left to us. We must not forget James Cone and the cross and the lynching tree. We must not forget that American Christianity has long made peace with crucifying the poor. We must not forget that for many, the church has meant the exact opposite of communion. It has meant abandonment, rejection, assimilation, annihilation. We must not forget that it was the so-called faithful who lit the fires and justified the rope. So let us write a new theology. No, let us remember the ancient one. That the body of Christ is found wherever the poor are not handed over. That the Eucharist is wherever a shared crust of bread resists despair. That resurrection is wherever death does not get the last word. This is the persecuted church, not the one that whines when it loses political power, the one that holds hands in the alley and sings quietly in the night, because it still believes, even if it cannot name the one in whom it believes. And if we are honest, we do not know the name of the God they fear, nor do we know the name of the one they hope for. But the difference is written in blood. One takes, one gives. The body of Christ bleeds for the world. The God of this world bleeds it dry. And the church, the true church, is the space between them where resistance becomes resurrection, and hope, though wounded, is not dead. Not yet.